In the days of masters and slaves, yeah, that was the poor man's paper. The thing that we have is gold. Honor and share. Don't suppress one for the other. Calypso is the start of the culture. The thing that we have is gold. Honor and share. So when I sing from my heart, yeah, and you feel it in your soul, that informative feeling, sometime it hits home. So let's not forget the main ingredients of the Sandra. Hey! So when I feel it, so take it, put it in chord. Praise all I apostle. Boogie, you not the human. Pick up that's the partner. Melody of the well, yo, feel the love again. Well, yo, not deny your historic sin. Well, yo, we beg it for that starting land. Well, yo, that love it. No, what's Sandra love? What's Sandra love? What's Sandra love? What's Sandra love? What she supported? What she supported? What's Sandra love? You know why? She felt her greatness flow went through her veins. Do you know what she knows? When that feeling starts, it goes away. Hey! Do you know what she right now with the donation. Talk to me.
We at 56.26%.
We need some more donations. We need some more donations. Let me sing it for them again. Donate, 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 donate. Say it. Donate. Louder. Donate. Let them hear you. Donate, 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 donate. Sandra. Donate. Again. Donate. Listen. Donate. 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 So, in the days of masters and slaves, yeah, that was the poor man's papers. The thing that we have is gold. Honor it, share it to the world. Don't suppress one for the other. Calypso is the start of the culture. The thing that we have is gold. Honor it. So when I sing from my heart, yeah, and you feel it in your soul, that informative feeling, sometime it hits home. So let's not forget the main ingredients of the culture. Call them. Hey, somebody else. Hey, girl. Look at the chord. It's all like up. Boogie, you dance and humor. We come at the partner. Melody of the together. Feel the love again. God deny your historic day. We beg His back, cause God is blessed. If you love it, everybody tell me, what's that dollar? What's that dollar? What's that dollar? What's that dollar? What does she have? What she fight for? Hey! Oh, I got weakness. Well, God deny your story. You think it's God, that God is blessed. Hey, hey. Oh, come and get weakness. Oh, this is. Where's all your books there? Bring it up, God.
Tell me we 60 something they can.
Yes.
Let's take you stage side now for contestant number 5, round 1 in the Calypso Mono competition, Karen Ashe, singing Uncle Jack.
Pleasant evening, grandstand, not stand. The old people used to say, if your eye too long, trouble will befall you. Trouble befall you. And when you're living in good house, sometimes just so bad houses come and call you. It's not to say you must settle for the mediocre, or you must take a lash from man whether drunk or sober. But sometimes women leave them man say they're going for better, and in you one day embrace to know to be a monster. Careful what you ask for, careful what you wish for. Better keep your bird in hand and pursue your heart's desire, or you will eat from the frying pan straight into the fire. Careful what you cry for, oh, what you prepare to die for. They say better the devil that you had than the one you do not know. Before you end up on the floor, squash up like a mosquito. Careful what you ask for, oh, careful what you wish for. So why you upset? You ask for it, hey, we'll take what you get. Whoa, whoa. Viewing the news the other day, thought I was watching the young and restless. So young and restless. This tiny little Indian girl leaves the child father who she swear was worthless. Idle and worthless. Moving with a younger man also from Guyana. hit she more bad than someone when she feed him China. The same young boy that she craved what would take she further. Oh, put she baby in a grave, now she falling murder.
Careful what you ask
Oh, wish I could have won.
Careful what you wish for.
The same man who made she heart beat fast, who she called she baby girl. Beat she worse than 10 Judas, then bashing she baby skull.
Careful what you pray for.
Oh, might be what you get slowly. They say better the devil that you had than the one you do not know. Before you end up on a slab with a white tag on your toe.
Careful what you ask for.
Hey,
Careful what you wish for.
so why you upset?
You ask for it.
Hey, we take what you get. We went and fought the other day, and for the winds of change, we still we finger.
Dirty me finger.
But how quickly things decay. Now I know that strange begins to linger.
Woman finger.
A man get question on Islam on a radio station. Then just so get fire brand about discrimination. They say Saruj brewing hell between Hindu and Muslim. Well, if you see in Shani Ishmael, why you run and tell him, careful what you wish for. What you use your IBM dish for. You thought PP was the best in tongue, so it's them you did promote. But now they stifling expression, look how they cut poor fast your throat.
Careful what you fight for.
Ah, the things you unite for. Better the devil that you had than the one you do not know. Now they have Port Trinidad, Tensai, Mumbai and Lahore.
Careful what you ask for.
Hey, careful what you wish
for.
So why you upset?
You ask for it.
Well, take what you get, you get, you get, you get, you get, you get, you get. Whoa, I was in town the other day, saw a massive march put on by Labour, United Labour. They knock iron, they jump and sway. It was a grand display of no behavior.
No damn behavior.
Now this government have folks from the labor movement, but it's different party, but same strokes, little improvement. And why from this drama labor leaders buckling? A dream man in any pajama in a corner chuckling. Careful what you ask for, Comrade McLeod.
Careful what you wish for.
Hey, you didn't like the bird in hand, wanted your heart's desire. You jumped from the frying pan, well now, enjoy the fire.
Careful what you strive for.
Ah, the things you connive for. They say better the devil and start calling mommy if I didn't know. Careful what you ask for. Careful what you wish for. So why you upset? You ask for it. Well, take what you get, you get. Take your 1% and chill.
Careful what you ask for.
Take your 1% and chill.
Careful what you wish for.
Take your 5% and chill.
Careful what you ask for.
Take your funds, no cash and chill.
Careful what you wish for.
Hey, take your funds, no cash and chill.
Careful what you ask for.
I love you.
Oh boy. Take your 1%. Take your 2%. Careful what you ask for. I rather suspect North in the pajamas somewhere chuckling. Good evening. Welcome to Politics 101. Karine Ashe, the princess of Calypso. Take what you ask for. Take what you ask for. And before that, royalty. Terry Ann Lyons, the daughter of Super Blue. Calypso music. I really love if our Calypso in Guyana was bold enough. Take what you ask for. Take what you get. You went and stained your finger for the winds of change last year. Well, take it now. As I said, lots of calls, lots of Dr. Hines, we know you're right, but we want opposition unity, but you didn't vote for that. You vote for opposition disunity. Take what you get. That's what you voted for. The winds of change. Take what you get. You can't. Mr. Mohammed made it very clear he's not collating with PPP nor PNC. You vote for that. But you go in and ask the man for no unite. The man say he's not uniting with left or right. And you vote for that. Take what you get. Even worse, you come into the APNU and asking them to unite. You didn't vote for that. Hard questions and hard answers. You see what's the order of the business? The whole electoral thing now is buying and selling. I understand today another PNC man buy gun. The thing has become a farce. But that's what we vote for. That's what we vote for. Please share it live. Dr. Vincent Alexander was here early in the week. Dr. Vince Adams, the Friday night man, is here, and we are going to talk. Our politics are changing right in front of our faces rapidly. I don't know if we can call it politics anymore. We done with Barima, you know. Barima done. After killing more than 100 people, the government decided they're going on outreaches. They're outreaching. And they started a model village. People done with Barima, you know, they gone to see if the government is sharing out something. Barima done. Really destroy our country, and our people are in such bad shape that we are going along with the destruction. Sometimes we don't even know that we are helping in our own destruction. It's destroying the country. The sad thing is that Black people are the ones that are out front in the destruction. Certainly the theatrics of it. It was so nice to see Linden people coming out the other day and protesting. But as a political person, the eye goes beyond the protesting. It's Black people from WIN cussing Black people from PPP, and Black people from PPP cussing Black people from APNU, and Black people from APNU cussing Black people from the PPP, and PPP Black people cussing WIN Black people. So even in a positive thing, like a spirited protest, the stage, the tragedy, the comic tragedy, Black people are the front and center of it. You know, you go to Melanie is James Bond and Campbell. James Bond cussing out for the PPP. And as I've said, if we can see this big quarrel between Mohammed and Irfan Ali for what it is, two rich Indian men who fall out. And because they control the state, Irfan Ali and them control the state, Mohammed no longer on the inside, but even on the outside, he's still powerful. A man who used to lend money to the central bank, a man who gets endless money. He may not be in the government now, but he's still powerful. The soldier, they put boat on the IC to go and look for body, and Mohammed get he boat on the IC. If we are not seeing that these are two Indian powerhouses fighting over who give who you money, who do favor for who using you money, and they're fighting it out, not at Palm Court, but in the state, the councils of your government. And now the fighting up reached the CCJ. And I beg you all, don't take sides. When them banners settle the fight, and they will settle it, Black women will still be leaving their homes at 6 o'clock in the afternoon to go and do watchman work when night come. The majority of Black people leaving school still gonna be working in the public service for $120,000. Black women will still be teachers working for starvation wages. And we take inside when two elephants some of us are saying we must leave the CCJ. When we left the CCJ, which court you think of BB highest court? The Court of Appeal. Check the Court of Appeal, who controlling it now. It was the one court that was standing up to the PPP. They pushed the lady out, Janet Cummins. So now they're controlling the Court of Appeal. And our people are reflexively saying, we left the CCJ and come to appeal court. Man, these people drug up black people, man. They drug me up. I was never comfortable with the Indar and Ejil chant. Although I understand it's good theatric, it's easy. I have always been in favor of a no confidence motion in the government. A bandit government will never throw bandits. I understand why we got to get these chants, you know, when I saw them just as chants, but not policy. And that is why my thing with Ejil is not whether he should go or not. I know he ain't going no way, but my thing with Ejil is a disgrace to black people. That's me chant. But I think we get lack off so much that we don't know we left foot from the right foot. I mean, somehow the other feel that we can turn on protests and turn it off. We turn it off land, and we say we're going for election. Careful what you ask for. The PPP has learned how to thief election. They're not thieving it outside the system, they're thieving it in the system. Control GCOM, guys, they gonna come the votes eventually. Control the leadership of the police and the army because it's they got put down protests eventually. Control the courts because eventually petition got go there. We turn off protests. And now when protest is the only thing open, we want to turn it on back like a pipe. You know, you turn off and turn on. That's where we find ourselves now, you know. I ain't say we got to fight. I know we got to fight. I know we got to fight like hell. I know we got to fight like hell, and you all better fight. But saying them kind of fight that we're talking about, gone. I think one of my comrades was saying today, look, even during the colonial time, you carry a petition to the white man governor, at least you're going to take the petition, you're going to acknowledge it. So he gave you the impression that your protest is part of this democratic system. Them this year, they criminalize your protest. So your protest come like a joke, according to Irfan Ali. You've been out there with the protester. They make any sense? We got to break up this system. Not just get rid of the government, but break up the system. And if you set yourself certain objectives, then you're going to achieve those objectives. Understand, we don't pay off the oil money, costs. We pay off exams, so we now got to get a bigger money. And the government ain't saying nothing yet about the bigger money. You see, this government should never be controlling the oil and gas system. They have legislation, but they leave enough loopholes in the legislation to control the oil and gas. I think we should have a commission. I think they talk about a petroleum commission and so on. But what we need are people who know about oil and gas to run the thing. I'm not a private sector man. And so I'm not saying to hand the thing over to private sector. But when you have a corrupt government, you cannot lay authority in their hands. But they're going to take it as managers of the state. The system has to go. We can't get from both to stand. We try with the election, and when we realize the people say, I want election, all right. All right. We're going to show you election. We're going to want election too. Just control the election machinery. Now you want protest? All right, you protest. The watchman in parliament licked down, brother. They're still while we brother in. Then I hear nothing. Then I do sign reading for tell them, say aye. They are determined that nothing you do conventional that they are going to respect. If you want, do unconventional things. That's what they're forcing us. That's what they're telling us. Do we have the belly for unconventional things? Collective belly. We come, we stand up on the road with placard and wait me out. It don't mean that we must go and stand up with placard. You don't get me wrong. But know that that's not an end in itself. Know that it's a means to an end. It's the end. Do we have the collective belly? That people can't want use emancipation to sing and dance and put on African clothes and eat kanki alone. We got to make emancipation day and emancipation month political. Political. Use it. Use the emancipation states to preach revolution. Denounce starvation. Do we have the belly for that? Your emancipation thing must be so structured that Ali and what the other one named Jack Dio wouldn't want to go. So we won't have to worry about whether Eric take out picture with them because they wouldn't be there. But if you put on song and dance, and they're gonna come. But if you say, this is my hand for the revolution, that night there will be torches. That's not me saying it's Martin Carter. They come in there. So the question of Eric taking a picture with them doesn't arise. Maybe you want to sing and dance, and put on my clothes and tie my head and make that an end in itself. David, you get company tonight. You gotta behave yourself. The Honorable, the Right Honorable, Director of the best director of the EPA we ever had. Careful what you ask for. They overthrow Granger, you know. They overthrow him. And the court, the CCJ, take the jurisdiction that belonged to a court of appeal and overthrow Granger. Some of them will leak the email of the CCJ was part of the overthrow. Vince.
Yep.
The man who now getting crucified, perhaps rightly so, he wasn't part of the overthrow, you know.
Yep.
This story get plenty twists and turns, and I suppose that we have weaned our people on a kind of simplistic politics. So when we are faced with complex things with moving parts, it's hell to get them. Hell to get our people. Go ahead, talk to me.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, welcome to our Friday night audience again. I was sitting there and enjoying everything you said here, Doctor. You know, you said something that is very telling, and I thought to be the quote, not only of the day and the night, but that everybody need to keep in their heads. They, meaning the PPP, they have determined that nothing you do that is conventional will be respected. They're laughing at it. I saw a headline today, which was also very, very, very telling. And the headline was the politics. What is it? The PPP is engaged in the politics of destruction. You touched on it there. Who remembers those 20 young ladies that died at Madio? Who remembers Adriana? Who remembers the farm? So this MV Barimo, this too shall pass. And you touch on exactly the what is going on in Guyana in terms of our responses to these type of things. We have protests, you know, something occurs. You know what the PPP is saying? They're sitting back and say, hey, they're having their wine or whatever it is. Hey, hell, this is just gonna last for a little while. Nobody's gonna remember this. And so they're going out there with their outreaches, and the people are not even remembering. You remember they had an outreach in Tiger Bay to do the same thing, to have a model, whatever they call it, a model district. What happened to that? Which is the same thing. And you know, you touch on some I'm telling you, I wish that people would take note of what you say. Is black people against black people. They're using black people against, they're rejoicing. When I look at that Linden, even the Linden protest, did you recognize, even when the group, the protest group was at the bottom of the stair at the Watuka House, did you notice on the step, all of those folks who were in red adornment, T-shirts and everything else? Did you see one single Indian person? Did you see an Indian person come out at Melanie and confront the group? Guess who was sent out to confront the group? And so the conversation changed now to these two black men up in the face of each other. No, you were absolutely correct. And I think, you know, we ought to, you know, really get, you know, you said it's kind of simplistic in our thought, but I guess, you know, that's the art of politics. And that's what the PPP is beating us to. Politics is to make it simple to the same, you know, for the most part, the populace is basically simple-minded. You make things some very simple-minded, and that's all that matters. And I don't know, you know, you guys are the experts, you know, in terms of political sciences. How do you switch that? And the biggest hurdle to switch it in Guyana, it's not like it used to be in the past. And I tell people this over and over because I lived through probably the entire history of Guyana before it became independent, you know, from the 50s when I was born. But what the difference now is that this PPP party, they've got the money and the resources. That's the big difference. They've got the money and resources. And because people are so desperate, they've got to make a living for themselves and their families. They're making a choice. Do I go with the PPP where I can make a living for me and my family? Or do I stay here and it seems hopeless to me. And on top of that, Dr. Hans, I hate to say this, when we were in power, we did not take care of our constituencies. That's a fact. I am not making this up. You ask, no member of even the PNC would deny that. Because that's not, you see, the difference again between the two parties is where, you know, when the PNC was in power, they don't look at black and Indian. They look at Guyanese. Okay? So I guess it's not politically, that's the way that politics work. But that's a big difference, and it's paying dividends to the PPP. The PPP take care of their constituencies, and then the PNC folks are seeing, well, hey, you know, the hope for me ever getting any place is to be with the PPP, and the PPP love it. Look today, you know, on Jagio page, he put it up as soon as with the picture and everything else with this guy Wayne, I can't remember his name.
Wayne Mason. And so that's a big celebration for them. And Wayne Mason, by the way, for people, he's an new councilor, a councilman in the Georgetown City Council. So that's what we're dealing with. We saw my good friend Valerie in Linden came out and said, oh, they're development all over the place in Linden, which is not so. But that's exactly, you know, they've got the, you know, everything under control, Dr. Hines. But like you said, again, I want to repeat what you said, because people have to bear it in mind. You said they have determined that nothing you do that is conventional will be respected, or it would even be laughed at, to be honest. Mm-hmm.
That's the dilemma that we're in.
Yeah. And you know, Doc, we have to say these things because you listen to the average opposition spokesperson, and they say, you know, everybody's suffering, including people in the PPP constituency and so on. It's true. But here, if you're the average PPP constituent, cash grant come along is 100,000 per person. But the PPP give you 5 ID cards, which you use in 2020 election. But you don't get them 5 ID card, you drive down 500,000. So
half a million.
Half a million. And you happen to be a fisherman.
Yeah.
You drive down another 250,000. And you happen to be a sugar man, cane cutter, or working in the sugar industry. You get another 250,000. And you happen to be a rice farmer. You get another. You pass Clive Thomas 1 million. So Clive Thomas 1 million. The average brother or sister in the PPP constituency get Clive Thomas 1 million.
Yep.
Because the PPP has worked it out.
Absolutely.
While we are telling our own people this propaganda that is not you all alone punishing Indian people, and it's true, Indian people punishing.
Yeah.
But Indian people get a little more. You know, if you eat pepper and rice, at least they get a little butter on their rice.
Yeah.
And I think these are the things the PPP is beating us with.
Yeah.
And you wonder, when Mohammed came, why only black people went fame and Indian people didn't go?
Yeah.
Because the PPP, as soon as a top PPP man said, David, from the time Mohammed showed head, we said, give those young Indian boys and girls whatever we have to give them and get them to PPP rallies.
Yeah.
Of course, they had the money to do it.
Yep, the money.
And so when Mohammed went into the Indian community, he meet them big that lady with a knife and the fish pan. He meet them big, strong Indian men. Because the young Indians are at PPP rallies and PPP workshops. And the black youth is there to greet Muhammad because our leaders feel that we shouldn't give them a certain kind of racial consciousness. But now we expect them to act racially. And they didn't. That is the difference between the two communities.
Yeah.
One as a party that knows how to protect its constituency, and the other one got a set of parties who have little or no confidence in their constituencies. And so they don't deal with their issues. God help us, but God has always helped us. He has helped us through some stormy nights, and He's going to help us through this too.
Yeah.
But He also helped those who help themselves. You say,
But
well,
before you end here, which is what you touch on, the influence, it's even extending beyond local in Guyana. We see now in a major way where that influence, those hands of influence are extending beyond into the CCJ.
There you go.
Which is critical. And I'm like you, I hear this call for getting rid, well, we're going to drop the CCJ. And I ask the same question. So what do we, when we drop the CCJ, we're defaulting to a 100% controlled government entity, right? Because we're going to go to our courts in Guyana, and we know what happens there. So at least the blessing that we had here is at least we had, 4 other jurists at the CCJ who were, who came out in the open, let us see exactly what we have. And the one thing that, man, somebody needs to pump some sense in my head, because maybe it's me. How in heaven's name? Because I asked the question, one guy said, well, you should appeal it. A lawyer in one of the chats said, well, we should appeal for consideration. So I said, who do you appeal to consideration to? Well, the body that oversees the CCJ, the RJ, whatever it is. But that body, guess who chairs that body? The same guy that is president of the CCJ.
Yes.
How does that make any sense? So if you send an appeal to him, and that's where you remember the Rickford Bork, when the Rickford Bork appeal, it went to that and it's the same guy. So if you have a problem with the CCJ and you appeal it, this guy chairs the oversight group of this body to make the decision as to what's the next step. He even made a statement that not he, the RJSC or something.
Yes. Huh?
They make a note that they're gonna have some kind of a inquiry or investigation. Now, how heaven name the same guy that is on the question, he is chairing that oversight body. Now, tell me if that make any sense.
Yeah, as Nigel Hughes, I think, in a series of very informative pieces,
right,
did point that out. Nigel said that ultimately, it's the heads of government, 3 of them, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's they have to manage this guy, but from all we are hearing, it's not only the buy alone, Mr. Anderson alone, is in this thing. I'm hearing if Mr. Anderson open him out to talk, some of them who talk funny. And so get their horses in the cases.
But the most striking thing that came out to here in terms of our interest, means Guyanese interest, is the tie between this man, the personal relationship, if you will, between this man and the Guyana government. It's only things start coming. I never knew that this man used to live in I think in Bel Air for 3 years.
Yeah, because he served at CARICOM.
He served at CARICOM, and then you hear all kinds as to how he got the CARICOM work.
Yes.
That Jagdio was involved in it and all. I mean, the story how he got from UWI to CARICOM, and Jagdio involvement in that. I mean, these are the kinds of things that are coming out now. So it's payback time. you know, he's got to pay back. So, but that's the disturbing part of it. It's that link. So how could a Guyanese have any confidence now? You've got a problem. You don't have any confidence in our, because they got rid of Cummings. So at least, you know, you probably had a little bit chat that you could have trust if she was there, etc. But now, totally, they got rid of Cummings to make sure that you've got this, that they maintain control. You got rid of her, and then they put their own people in place, and now you've got this guy who's linked to them, and this guy is making certain that you know, if you or I have a case and we don't get satisfaction, which is which I think is almost 100% certainty, and you take it to the CCJ, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference because of what we're hearing now.
Yeah, you know, Vince, the very day that I think it's GCOM itself had to put out an advisory on what it called vote buy-in, and said that vote buy is against the law. I don't know if you remember, GCOM during the election campaign was forced to put out a statement to that effect. And I remember we were meeting in the WP, and Clive Thomas told us, matter of factly, that once you begin to buy votes, you're not turning that back. That
Yeah.
And we saw it, you know, you start buying your ordinary people votes. And now you're buying CCJ votes.
Yep.
And that is the story here.
Yep.
And as I mentioned, Mohammed may not be in the state,
Yep.
but he's close enough to the state. He's not a non-state actor. I call him a para-state actor. So you get military and paramilitary. He's a para-state actor because although he and them fall out, his tentacles are so far into the state structures that if the man want any information from the police, he got police and he pay. So the man got as much influence in the state as the state actors.
Yeah.
And if they can influence CCJ, clearly he can influence CCJ too. The leaking, it can't be on the snow who leak your own story.
Yeah.
And no, the only case they cited in the leak is the Mohammed case. That is not lost. And so I'm maintaining this is extraordinary.
Very extraordinary. And you know, it's again just this here is typical characteristic of the PPP.
Yes.
Based upon Aubrey Norton's in revelation of that conversation. That conversation alone tells you about the brazenness, about the brazenness of this man going to Aubrey and say, hey, no, this is what these people want, go along with it, and you're gonna make a big name for yourself. That conversation there, Dr. Hines, that alone was so galling. But it tells you again about that culture of brazenness that we have in the PPP, and it's
and the way with the PPP very calculatedly use black people to do its dirty work. It's simply amazing. Not just that they are prepared to use black people to do the dirty, but black people are prepared to do the dirty work. Look, PPP people used to be saying publicly and private to me, David, all them black men go vote PPP, and I would tell them they're crazy. And I think they were only saying that the black people go vote for the PPP. I think they knew black people weren't going to vote in any significant numbers for the PPP. But in hindsight, what I now realize they knew was that black people were vulnerable. And I think that's the message they were sending to people like me. Your people are vulnerable.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get me to stop appealing to black people because they knew that if black people are going to stand firm, that they had to hear a message of race. And so they wanted me to stop that race. It's now the whole thing coming out.
Yeah.
That while they were trying to separate Aubrey Norton from me, David Hines going to bring you down. And so they're saying, David Hines' race talk make black people go vote for Mohammed. What they're not saying, by their own logic, well, if 70-something go to Mohammed and 70-something say, and you're saying David Hines make this 70-something go, then you have to give me some credit and say it's me making 70-something stay. But of course, they're not going to say that because I am now learning how these people were gathering data. They were using government money to talk to people, and they had a fair sense of what was happening.
Yeah.
A fair sense of what was happening. And they played us like a fiddle. If we knew what those people knew, then our election message and strategy would have been different. But we didn't know. And we went with a conventional campaign.
Yeah, conventional.
A conventional campaign. And the people beat me. You know? The people float and tell me about minority government. They tell you about crossover vote. All kind of thing to make us take our eyes off our constituency.
Yeah.
And they rob we both figuratively and literally. Doc, you tell me, well, I is a politics man. Let me go to something that I ain't an expert in, and that is island gas. Understand? Yeah. Tell me the story about this paying off. We pay off, and now once we get paid off, the money is supposed to increase. Walk us through that.
Doc, I noticed the entire country is excited, and I know people, the politicians, everybody is saying, hey, Doc, trust me. This here is a hype for Exxon stocks, okay? Those type of announcements, and you know, in the United States, before those companies that are on contract with the government, before they make any public statement, they've got to run it through the government to start with. Because these are the kinds of things you got to be beware of. Any company that comes out and say they're paying off, it goes out there. I looked at Exxon's stock within July. It went up 22%, Doc.
Wow.
22%. And I bet you it had to, because they have two operations in Guyana and in the Permian Basin in Texas. And I bet you it had a lot to do with that. But let me tell you why, Doc. The contract does not allow for that. The contract, you see this without ring fencing. Ring fencing, remember now, the basic tenet of this contract. The cost bank is a running number until all the projects are paid off. It's not like 7 projects. When you finish paying off for 7 projects, you draw a line. You cannot draw a line based on projects nor time, because if you read what they're saying that, well, we finish paying off by the end of December of 2025. What it says is that the money, and while they're saying that, they're still adding money to the cost bank with projects 8, 9, 10, and whoever. They've made that clear. So you cannot draw a line and say that, well, I have 55 billion, which is for 7 projects. They're all as a single entity in one cost bank. As long as you keep charging, you cannot strike a line. So that is why, Doc, I believe they made this announcement, and they caught the government. They put them in a bind. So the government cannot come out now and say, well, you know, whatever they're going to. But what I believe they're going to do to save face, I bet you they're behind the scenes trying to beg Exxon to say, well, what could we do that we could come out and say, you've increased the amount, or we've renegotiated or changed the contract? Because how the contract is written now, They cannot increase that number without ring fencing. This has been the major discussion of issue from day one. Or else, why 7? Let's say go to 1. We've been saying Liza 1, which was the forest project, it only cost $3 billion. Okay, so that should have been paid off after year 1. We should have been getting the money from Liza 1 and increase. Never happened, and that's been the issue. So this whole hype is I can't wait myself. I cannot wait myself, and I'm sure others, to see what statement they're going to come out with. I cannot wait. And the other thing that is the other erroneous statements that I see coming out from people who are making statements, and including politicians, is that we're going to get our 50%. You are getting 50% of the profit right now. But 50% of the profit is equal to 12.5%. And you add the 2%, it's 14.5%. But we are already, which is what somebody yesterday, I think, had to respond and say, yeah, well, we are getting 50% of the profit. But remember, when they take out that 75%, you're left with 25. That's the profit. They split at 50-50. It's not 50% of the whole thing. And that's why that billboard that I have attacked over and over, that says that we're getting 52%, is a blatant lie and a fraud that Exxon has put up across the country. It's impossible for you to get 50%. Because even when, let's assume you finish paying off for the entire Stabroek Black Dock, you still have operating costs remaining. And based on my research, because they're hiding all this information, so the government doesn't even know what part is the operation cost, what percentage is. But based on some other source of information that I looked at, the operating cost is about 30%. So let me say you finish paying off all this capital cost. You still have a 30% cost for operating. So if you subtract the 30% from 100, you're left with 70%. You split that 50-50 for the contract. We get 35, they get 35. And then on top of that, you add 2%. We're not going to get anything more than 37 or nothing more than 40%, between 37 and 40%. That's all. So when people talk about 50% and 52%, it's not 52% of the total take. You could only get that if the operating cost is 0. So that, I just want to caution folks, do not get excited. And I cannot wait to hear what this government is going to come out. I bet they're working behind the scene with Exxon to find a way out of this jam that they're in right now.
Doc, I think, and thanks to that explanation and thing. I think after 7 years, it's 7 years this year, no? Since the ICE started.
Yep.
I think after 7 years, it's become very clear that this government is managing the oil and gas sector as a political enterprise.
Absolutely.
And not as an economic enterprise. Do you agree with me? Yes. And as such, I think we have to start looking to the future. And we have to assume that someday this government will go and a new government will come in. And I am arguing that within the legislation, there is scope for a new model of governance in the oil sector. I want you to speak to that for me.
Oh, with Doc, and I hate to go back into history, but when this contract came out, of course, we all had our say, and people had to go back on February the 4th, 2016. I was on the front page. There was a front page article in an interview, an exclusive interview that Marcelo Fowler from Stabroek News did. Front page. I know it was a headline that basically this contract should be abandoned, and we should get $1,000. We should take $1 billion in signing bonus, and we should go to a different type of a contract, which is what we call a concession type contract, meaning you don't have to go through all the shenanigans of audits and because we have no capacity to go and audit them. A concession type contract, very simple, says that Exxon, out of this 100 barrels, for every 100 barrels, we're going to take 30, you take 70. I don't care how you do it. Or I'm going to take 40, you take 60. I'm going to take 50, you take 50. I ain't got to audit. All I need is to make sure I've got people, and we've got a lot of them. We got a lot of mechanics. We got a lot of electricians. We got a lot of young engineers who can make sure that the meter is running correctly. So all I got to do is as the meter runs and they fill up them barrels, we can count them barrels and we can make sure the meter is running correctly. That's all I need. We could get high school people to do that. Meaning, no, Exxon is doing everything, and whatever Exxon report. Look, even in the audit, these audits that doesn't mean anything. Even in the audit, imagine the auditors go to Exxon, and when they were asking for production information, Exxon is refusing to give it to them. No,
but it's not within Exxon interest. If you're going to ask Exxon for information that you as a regulatory body, because it's UIL and you're supposed to regulate, aren't you supposed to be gathering that information independent of Exxon?
No. Here's how an audit runs, Doc.
All right.
And even in the United States, we go to the big companies, because remember the government have all these contractors, the Exxons of the world. And what we make sure we always got the same firepower that they got to oversee the thing, so they can't come and fool us with nonsense. So what would normally happen, like we would, for audits now, we would go hire a consulting company, a company such as Price Waterhouse, the big guns, to do the audit. However, Price Waterhouse is not in charge of that audit.
I got you.
It's the government. So when you form a team, you take your team of experts, the government, along with Price Waterhouse teams, and that is the team that shows up to the contractor, and it's the government who's passing the instructions. So when the government tells Exxon, I need to see this, not Price Waterhouse, I need to see, they have no choice, but there's no contractual mechanism between a subcontractor and Exxon. So when they go and tell Exxon, say, you got no authority for tell me nothing. So that's the first flaw in how we can. And then, but even more than that, even after it happens, the government again is just not doing a damn thing, but you just sit back and accept it. I'm telling you, Exxon is running Guyana. There's no question, okay? And we saw that because it wasn't happening before the administration, the coalition. It wasn't happening with the coalition. Exxon was doing everything that we directed them to do, including, remember, the famous parent company guarantee. And as soon as we left, they changed it. We had the lawsuits, etc. But they're taking advantage of this feckless government.
Yeah, let me go back to what you call the simple formula. Every 100 barrel, you take 60, me take 40, or you take 55, I take 45.
That's right.
Is that model being used in other countries?
Here, let me give you a little bit of history. That was the original, we all call them the Seven Sisters, right? At one time, there were 7, but they were all Standard Oil companies, Standard Oil of Ohio, Standard Oil of California, the 7 Sisters, we call them, the big oil companies. And they, of course, they break up and all kinds of stuff. That was the model that they started with. It was the oil companies that started coming out with this thing because it benefits them. They cause confusion, they cause complexity. But a lot of governments are now moving back towards it. A lot of governments are now going back towards this concession type.
Is there any country right now, any oil producing?
Oh yes, and I've got even the U.S. is a kind of a model of that. But a lot of companies, I think, a lot of companies are moving towards it, moving back from this thing they're changing those contracts and going back to the concession type contracts.
Concession type contract. That's Vincent Adams here tonight. Vincent, we are staying on government and industry, and as an environmental protection person, water is not very far away. I think the last time you were on this program, you talked about the importance of water
Yep.
to everything we do as human beings.
Yep.
We heard the shocking revelation over the last couple of weeks of the government moving into the bottling water industry. And quite rightly, you hear the headlines being that the government is getting into private sector business. And I hear that argument. But I want to ask a deeper question. And I'm starting from the premise that water is a common good, a social good. And that any government, your first act as far as water is concerned is to make sure that people have clean, portable water coming through the taps and so on. And that insofar as you are getting into the water business, because you're not going to ask the private sector to ensure that we have clean, portable water through the taps if there's no profit making for them. But the government, as far as looking after the welfare of the people, should first and foremost ensure that people have clean, portable water. And that water is part of the democratic process, not whereby people in upscale communities get nice and clean water, and then you go among Amerindian communities, so you go in Albaiston, or you go in Ankerville, out there in the quarantine, and they get dirty water. So there has to be a democratic process at play here, and this is where the government comes in. And so my fear is not so much that the government is getting into buying and selling water. Well, not buying and selling, but selling water. Are we moving towards a model where the government is advocating its responsibility as far as the distribution of a common good is concerned, so that the government, when it comes to water, is into the commercial business as opposed to the distributive business in a socially democratic way? I think I say enough, but you is a professor, so you get.
Dr. Hines, it sounds as if you read my letter to the editor of yesterday.
Well, I haven't seen it yet.
And if not, I invite the public to go read that letter, my letter to the editor of yesterday, exactly what you're saying there. And I was so disappointed in terms of that people who are opposing it. You got the Ghana Manufacturers Association. They were the force that came up because it probably is going to hurt them in their pockets.
Yes.
But this is not a case of economics. This is a moral responsibility of the government. Look, Doc, there are two things that we take for granted that is inherently governmental. Two things, two substances you cannot survive without: clean water and clean air. That's the government responsibility. The only places that I know that is like in some communist country like Cuba, I think, and Cuba is still they take on responsibility for everything.
Yeah.
But in any democracy, that is the major role, or the predominant role of a government to make sure you got clean air and clean water. So when I see the argument that the GM, I know they've got to look after their interest, which is money. And all of them in that Ghana Manufacturers Association who's making this argument, all of them got water treatment, but guarantee you, water treatment units at their homes. They and all them government officials who don't have to care about water, it got them at their homes. They got them water filters and all kinds of stuff to filter that water or treat it at their home, because you can do that. You can put on filters and everything else. They got it at their home. But the only reason why they're coming out and talking about it is because it's hitting them in their pockets. This is not about an economic, and the government love this argument because it's distracting from their incompetence, and it's hiding. They're hiding behind that incompetence and their negligence and their election of duty to supply the people with pure water, which is a main responsibility of theirs. So that's what this is about. So we should stop talking about the money part of it, because that's sort of one set of people. Now you tell me, Doc, let me say that go ahead and build this plan. Listen to this. Let me take the 58% of people in poverty, use that as a number, that can't afford to have water treatment thing at their homes and that type of stuff, right? They're drinking dirty water and all kinds of stuff. When they go, I don't care how cheap they want to make this water. When they go and buy this water, guess what you're buying it in? You buy it in them 5-gallon thing. When you take it home, you're going back to, you got to throw it out in a bucket, or you go back to bucket and calabash days now. When you're taking you can't take a shower with this water that come through the pipe. You can't wash dishes with the water come through the pipe. You can't wash clothes with that water that come through the pipe. So now you got back to the calabash days. You go with this cheap water, what they claim is going to be, and fill it in a bucket, and then you take your calabash and you be. That's what we're going back to. That is the days that we're going back to. That's the practical. So people hearing, we're going to get pure water. That is why water has to come through the pipe with a nice shower and everything. That you've been living in the United States. Could you recall a single day when your water cut off?
No.
Good.
No.
I have been here over 30-something years. Can't remember a single day for no reason why water was ever cut off. Never seen it in any country that I've been to. That, you know, the democracy, the democratic country. So that is what we're dealing here. And then on top of this, we to show their either incompetence and their political bias again. They've been making attempts all. We've been hearing about upgrading the system, this water. How long now? It's for decades now since they've been in power for 20-something years. And by the way, just to let people know that they don't, to let them not, I know a lot of them and say, well, what does he know? I was one of the 11 engineers who were specifically trained by the United Nations Development Program in 1972 to start the Ghana Water Authority. So I was one of the original 11 engineers under one of the specialized engineers, Dr. Ulrich Gibson, who was his PhD was in water resources management, trained at Minnesota. But we had a well-equipped, well-managed, with exports, the 11 engineers to start. We handed over when the government came out of office, we handed over a well-operating water system under. That was Forbes Burnham vision, by the way, to make sure everybody gets water. We built new facilities, new wells. I was responsible for drilling all the wells east of the Demerara River, going all the way to the quarantine. And we handed over. These people have degraded the system while we're here for the 29 years out of the 35 years that they've been in office. And every time they look, for example, that in 2022, they come up with a big hype. Oh, we $40 billion program to rehabilitate 12 plants. Guess where these plants were? These plants were in the East Bank, was Region 3, Region 6, East Bank, and East Coast, the Indian or the PPP areas. Linden has 5 decrepit plants. 5. That showed even you remember the last report that I had written an article, a letter about, that had the acidity of that water was 630 times the standard in Linden. And then they had all that $40 billion, no plant in Linden was slated to be repaired. But just showing you again, So Linden has 5 plants, this decrepit, and then they're saying, when I wrote the letter the last time, they say, oh, don't worry, the water is clean. So I'm challenging them now, Dr. in that letter. Let them go drink that water on television. Now, I want the president, I think it's Indar, and the CEO of GWI, let them go on television and take that grumsy water and drink it in front of the people. But that's what we're dealing. This whole thing is to distract from their incompetence and their dereliction of duty to provide. It's the moral responsibility. Has nothing to do with economics. I know it's that serve the interests of some, but this here is more of a moral responsibility of this government to provide people with pure water, and they don't want to do it. That they cannot. They're incapable of doing it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adams. On these matters, sometimes I think I am crazy, you know. But I realize there is a difference between specialized education these days and what we in the old days when you and I were in university, we used to call it a liberal education. That's when you get a liberal education in your first degree. It was a specialized education.
No,
it's a broad education that, in a sense, train you to look at multiple things at the same time.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, certain things are not likely to escape your gaze.
Yeah.
But when you get a specialized education, your gaze is limited to that specialty, and that's where you are. So that you got your liberalized education as the undergraduate, and as you move into graduate work, you begin to specialize. But you're specializing within the broad framework of that liberal education.
Yeah.
You are seeing the linkage between science and philosophy. Philosophy
and politics because remember that I always say politics drives every single thing. You ever hear people say, well, I don't want to get into politics, I ain't going to voting. It's the most informed statement. Politics determine how much food you eat, what kind of food you eat, how much education you get, what kind of education, transportation, what kind of house you, how much water. It shows now it determines what kind of water you drink, you know, and what kind of air you breathe. It is all about politics. It depends on which government is in power. When you vote for a certain government, you better live with the policies that is going to impact you, as we're seeing right now with this government in Guyana.
See this government in Guyana, and while you're at it, I just want to say a word for an old teacher of mine who taught me English language and English literature in third form. Teacher Winifred Bryan from Buxton, who just passed away. She was 99. You know, Vincent, as you know, as you get older, you're really understanding the value of that kind of education that those people gave us in the 60s and the 70s. And they were teaching us specialized subjects. But you move from your English period to your literature period to your science period to your... And you felt as if there was something connecting all of those things. Back then. And no wonder that we produced the quality of skills. Back then, you mentioned the man who did water treatment, specialty in Minnesota, Ulrich Gibson. And, you know, we produce a certain kind of skill, a skill that was all wrong. As I said, Garfield Sobers couldn't come from Australia or England. He couldn't. Those societies develop in a certain way. But a Caribbean society, we had to learn to do multiple things at the same time. So you could produce a Garfield Sobers with that kind of dexterity, and not only somebody who's playing cricket and doing everything in cricket, but somebody who also played football, meaning soccer. Or you know, or did athletics and so on. And I'm saying that to say, I think our education system, the content has changed. We are now reading books written by and so on by Caribbean people and things. But I think what keeps us behind is that the perspective in which we are learning has not changed. And in a sense, you know, you had to go to England in the old days and you have to now go to America, because for all America is experimented with AI and everything, they are a certain foundation. And I'm speaking about America because that's where I lived, and the education system that I understand well. The canons, as those people call it, they keep it intact. They don't mess with it.
Yeah.
You go through an undergraduate degree, and they're mandatory stuff that you must do.
Absolutely.
Right? They don't play with that.
Nope. I can even, when I work for the U.S. Department of Energy, and of course, U.S. Department of Energy is the most scientific organization, because we respond for the nuclear weapons complex. We respond for all the national laboratories. So we the U.S. Department of Energy is got much more than energy to deal with. So I was responsible for, of course, in my department, we recruited, even under, we had Nobel Prize laureate in physics and all kinds of stuff. But when we recruiting, of course, you got a minimum qualification, the technical qualification. Okay, somebody must got a PhD. The GPA has to be about whatever it is, 3.5, etc. You've got a long list of people meet. Who used to make the difference? You already meet your technical qualification. It's who went beyond. People who've got, for example, people who've been performing civic responsibilities. That's what makes the difference between them, because all of them got the minimum qualifications when they come for an interview. So what the ones who make the difference is that exactly what you said, is what do they have on top of that with their social participation in dealing, for example, with people. Because remember, when you come on a job, your job again, because my job was basically a politician, because I had to deal with everybody in Congress and in the Senate, the governors and everybody. So you better have that some kind of a political savvy, or how do you deal with the local community, with the mayors and all those type of folks. Because remember, what politics is dealing with people, and to make people happy and comfortable and satisfied in the communities which are run by government. Is not just about adding and subtracting and physics and chemistry. That's your basic thing. You got to understand it. But when you come in, what makes a difference is exactly what you're saying, is that extra.
Yes, the extra. And I remember Wilson Harris as a novel called The Palace of Peacocks. When I was in high school, I tried to read that book, couldn't understand a thing. I said, Jesus Christ, what is this? Later on, as your education fleshes out, I went back to Palace of Peacocks and was able to read it to the end. And what I realized is that Wilson Harris was a land surveyor. So he's a novelist who's a land surveyor.
Yeah.
And so the language and this technical scientific skill of land surveyor founded by the Palace of Peacocks. And if you didn't have a sense of that world that the land surveyor did, you couldn't make it through the novel.
Yeah. And
it said that I really came to appreciate a broad education, or Karl Marx, Das Kapital. Lord of mercy. Never see things so hard for read. But you go on to college, you get a broad education of economics and mathematics and physics, and you understand that Karl Marx was bringing to bear all kind of physics and mathematics and all kind of things in the book Das Kapital. Yeah. And that the inability to get through it was because your education as a young boy is not broad enough yet to grapple with that.
Yeah.
And, well, how did we get into talking about this broad education? But I think here is where the exons of the world are beating us.
Yes.
Because and you would know that more than me, when you sit across the table, Exxon has so much money than I owe all the exports. They're
And
not just experts in economics. They're
you know,
psychology and all kind of story because they're studying you.
and you know what they do? You know what they do? Because I listen, and you know that was my best education has been at, you know, when I worked at the highest level of the U.S. government, because those are the people that we dealt with, those presidents. And when we tell them jump, they got to jump. That's why we used to make sure we have more firepower on our side than they had. But anyway, what they do, for example, if they're going to be coming to meet with me as an executive, they would make sure they study me. Don't think they're coming to me blind. They understand me inside out. You think when Exxon came to Guyana, and I get it out of my, you know, my good friend, well, you know, my counterpart, Rod Henson, the one before Rutledge. He knew everything about me when I got. We could tell. He said, "Oh, I know that." When in our conversation, but they study who they're going to be talking to across the table. Boy, it used to be funny, Doc. So if I'm, you know, if we got an issue when I was in Ghana, I'd said, here, I need to have a meeting with you guys. You know what Exxon used to do? They make sure they would send for their exports when they say, well, okay, what's your issue? And I tell them, especially if it's a deeply technical issue, they would send for their export from Houston to fly in for that meeting. I'm not kidding you, because they know what, you know, that they're gonna have to come good. But normally, like, no, they don't have to do that because they know that there's not nobody sitting across the table from them who would have a clue as to what the conversation would be about. They know that they control the conversation, and whatever they say, all they'll have would be shaking heads from the government side, because we have nobody in Guyana who could have an intellectual conversation with these people on the subject itself. That is where, and the thing is, they do not want, you know, the government, people like myself and you and everybody, Exxon does not want that period. Because, like, for example, when I was at EP and I set up that petroleum engineering unit in collaboration with the World Bank to have 36 high-powered environmental and petroleum specialists to be on board the FPSOs. They didn't want it. I said, it's not what you want, is what we will have. You go make arrangements for sleeping quarters and everything else. They started doing that. And the next thing you know, as soon as I left, they canceled that. But that's the big disadvantage that we're at, is that Exxon and those companies and the mining companies and everybody that are flocking Guyana, Canadians, and they're taking advantage of the government, not technically alone, but of the fecklessness of the government to even challenge them or to even make sure that you get the firepower to deal with them.
Dr. Vincent Adams here tonight. Dr. Adams, well, as you said at the beginning of the program, there are some things that we wanted to talk about, but you say, that you always get something up your sleeve, and we ended up talking here about education and the type of education that a country like Guyana needs, because moving into the big league almost by happenstance. What the economists call you at the front door, you get oil and it pushes you to the front door. And so you have to engage in this. And it means that your whole thinking about yourself and the rest of the world has to undergo changes. And I think sociologically, our government, I think is less interested in that kind of thing. And that is why I am arguing that if we're going to have to engage Exxon and the rest of the world for the rest of the life of oil, which may be another 20, 30 years, we have to change the model that we are using. I am not one of those persons who say that government should not involve in this and government should not be involved in that and so on. I'm not that dogmatic, but I'm saying this government, this particular government, should not be involved in certain things because of their orientation. Here's a party that says we done with socialism. we not into that. But then they engage. They say, well, the government is going to get involved in the business of water selling.
Yeah.
When last I checked, that's a socialist move. Your question now is, are they doing it out of ideological conviction? No, because they say they're done with socialism and ideology. Then there must be something, other reason that's driving them to use this thing that they say they're done with. And so it can't be that they want to compete with the private sector.
No.
It has to be something that benefits the elite that they belong to. And so they want to advocate their responsibility, the social responsibility of government, and to ensure clean and portable water, and to open up more space for the cronies to make some money. 5 years, they may say we abandon this thing, it didn't work. But in those 5 days, their friends and favorites make billions of dollars. As somebody pointed out in relation to Marriott, they make Marriott profitable, and then the government should be into profit making. So they now sell it. They're not going to sell it to one of their friends. A profitable thing that they use the state to build up. And now they say, we're going to sell it to one friend. These people, Dr. Adams, on the one hand, you want to say they're smart and tricky. If it had to do with just their own resources, I wouldn't mind. We are doing it with common resources. You're doing it with common resources. And that's what bothers me.
Yeah, you know, the most important reason, Dan, to get back to your question again, I'm totally convinced why they're doing, because it's embarrassing for people to be talking no water. And when they look at the water is brown and black. So what they're doing, this here is they're trying to distract, which is their modus distract by saying, okay, we're going to be producing clean water, so nobody can complain. When people show the drinking water that they're drinking, it looks clean. But then at the same time, again, going back to, it's not the same thing as what is inherently governmental for water to be running through your pipes. That is clean, not going and buying a bottle, throwing it out in a bucket, and then you take a calabash and go and bathe and put it in a wash basin for wash your clothes or for wash your dishes. That's not, but that's what they're trying to distract, is their dereliction of duty that they're trying to camouflage. That's what it is, Doctor, and their incompetence.
Dr. Vincent Adams here tonight. Good evening to all of you, all my friends I'm seeing. Some of you. Good evening to my friend Nikki Chester from Buxton. See Nikki's on. Good evening to you, and it was good hanging out at your Corrie Q last week. Hope that, yes, you gotta give it to us Guyanese and Caribbean people when it comes to a certain kind of creativity. It used to be barbecue.
Yeah. No, that's why I laugh. I don't think I ever heard about Corrie Q.
Yes, now it's Corrie Q. So instead of them barbecuing the pork and the chicken, they're currying the chicken. And they call it Corrie Q.
Wow.
In all of the troubles that we go through, and this is the measure of what I think is the creative imagination of our people, that although we are so beaten down politically and economically, we still find ways to survive, and with the survival comes survival language.
Yeah.
And if only we can tap that creative energy into a larger social and political movement, I don't think there's anything stopping us, Guyanese.
No question.
Yeah, but it is. Lord,
if we can get Governor Guyana, would by far be not only the richest country. Remember, when you look at the richest countries in the world, in the Middle East, the only thing they've got is oil. And everything else is desert. And how have those countries become rich? Guess what? The one thing they don't tolerate is corruption to start with. You know, they cut off your hands, or it's a serious matter when it comes to corruption. And they're investing some of those. If you go to Dubai, for example, when I hear people say we're a little Dubai, it makes me laugh. Do you know that people, the Dubai natives do not even work? All the workers are foreigners from Pakistan and India. And they come in, the taxi drivers, and they treat them as workers. They have pension plans. They pay for them to go home, pay their passage to go home, you know, with paid leave to go for a month or so to come back. But it's the people who are getting the benefits, not the guys who are at the top. They're rich already. You know, all the sheiks and everybody. However, in Guyana, it's totally different. It's the governance, and we have all the water in the world. Like I said, the basics, you know, which is water supply, the land of many waters. We can't even get water in the desert. You go in the desert, they have pure water, and we can't have it, even though they have to desalinate water and those type of things. I mean, it's a disgrace, Dr. Hines, that with all the money that we're getting, we cannot produce water. When you look at the countries in the Middle East that have no water resources, natural water resources, they can get pure water. There are no poor people there, because all of their natives people are very well off. They get free house. When you're married, you get a certain amount. I mean, it's when you get sick and they can't handle it there, you know, they pay for you to go abroad. That's what Guyana needs, and we could afford it. But all of that money floats up to the top, to the people who govern the country, and they don't care one damn thing about that 58% who are in poverty. They care about that 1% of people that continue to get richer and richer.
And on that note, I think we'll call it tonight. It's our Friday night back, and we've been missing each other, myself and Doc, and we made it tonight. It's Friday night. Doc, thank you so much. I will see you on Sunday because I'm under a lot of pressure. We haven't met for 2 Sundays.
I know.
And, that Sunday program has a very, what should call it, a very religious audience. And they, you know, Vincent Alexander tells me every opportunity, get my the Sunday night program. And Vincent is a political man, but I think he takes this Sunday night program more seriously than.
Yeah, I think you know who's another one. I think who's all Winston Jordan. I think too Winston.
Yeah, Winston comes on too. So I'll see you and Basil on Sunday, and we'll have lots to talk about. The CPL is on the way, and we'll talk about what that is looking like, and mop up some of the cricket over the last couple of weeks. So thank you.
But before you leave, you talk about Curry Q. I want tell your friends in boxing they ought to have. I'm a cook-up man. They have a cook-up Q.
A cook-up Q. All right.
Doc, there's a, you know, as you enter Buxton, when I was in Guyana, I used to make a special trip. Right as you enter Buxton, there was a little stall on the right-hand side there. And
yes.
Make a cook-up. I used to stop and have my Guinness. I need that cook-up right there on the right-hand side.
It's done. I am on done.
Okay, well, I can't remember the name.
I am on the other club they call the Carlupa Club.
Okay.
Carlupa Club. I'm on and done. That was, you stop there, you drink your thing, and they cook up there.
You cook up there, right?
Yes,
right.
Them Indian taxi drivers and things late at night.
Yeah.
2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, they stop there. So the cook up was always going.
Yes.
They're still there. They're still there.
Okay.
But the proliferation now of these little stalls and so on, you know, is where the action is.
Man. Yeah.
You know, so you're it. But as my friend Ogun say, you normally would say, boy, there's a limitation to how much money they can make from selling 2 or 3 pot of cocoa.
Yes,
And,
yes, yes.
you know, we have to try to move the economy of those small business people, and they're business people.
Yeah,
Move it
yeah,
to another level. I live here where they're doing the 4-lane highway, the line top here, the railway embankment. And the young ladies who are selling all kinds of things in front here, they tell me that just through the work that is going on, they've seen their takings
Yes.
drop by at least
Wow.
60%.
Jeez, you.
At least 60%. You know, there's a guy who, some of these guys, they have fruits in the back of these little canters. And they would go at a central place in the community where people are, and you know, you'd stop by fruits. And one used to come in front of here, and it was so nice, so I didn't have to drive and go to look for fruits and so on. It's
Right.
there, they peel your pine and so on and so forth. And I haven't seen him in recent time. Ask me, they said, oh, he's selling in front of the Chinese place. The Chinese opened a mega store, and so he goes there because that's where the traffic is.
That's where the traffic is.
So if I want the fruits now, I gotta go at the Chinese place to look for it and so on. And the other day I ordered knock on the door and I look out to see. He said them girls telling that that times things, so he bring the fruits so that we are not going to Chinese place. Gotta tell you know the big man who will come at this Chinese place. But you see how this government that is thinking about quote unquote development, because it doesn't, they don't live in communities. They don't think about how they're affecting what they're calling development is ready for a lot of people on the development.
Yep.
On the development, it's amazing. Where the road ain't done yet. And people take home from the little thing and has reduced by 60%. Anyhow, I'll see you on Sunday, my brother.
All right, good. Take care.
Dr. Vincent Adams. As usual, a wide-ranging discussion. It's Friday evening, and not time to take a break, but time to ease a little bit. You know, Teacher George Young used to say, you know, you got UG, and he attack his folk thing. And he said, when me start attacking them, open them out. And I saw they're taking everything. Me say, yes, Teacher George. He said, me still there first gear, you know. Me not go second gear yet. He said, if me been go second gear, they will lift me up in a chariot and carry me up in the sky. And you know, it's good sometimes to have that kind of what we call community discussion. Because the politics is ultimately about ordinary people. And yes, there are the national things that we have to talk about and the hot button things. But sometimes we have to have a conversation of the conscience. That we get to speak about education and small business and economics, as Dr. Adams and I did tonight. Those of you who are into cricket, we are going to be on Sunday night, and we'll be back here on Monday for the usual Politics 101. Thanks for the feedback, especially from the young people. I gather that our audiences have become younger and younger. Old people, big people. As they say, no, they don't say old, they don't say you old, they say you big. Big people still are the bedrock of at least this program. But we are moving now from 20% on the average, ages 18 to 34. that size of the audience used to be about 20%, and I've noticed it now moving close to 35, and in some instances it exceeds that. So it means that we are getting more and more wider participation by age group. It's your world, you young people, and it's your world to take care of. Make your mistakes, because my generation and previous generations made our mistakes. But I hope we are leaving something for you to work with. And I'm so glad to hear that a lot more of you are finding usefulness in our discourses here on Politics 101. Thank you so much for the confidence.